Okay, that's fine.
All right, so hi everybody. We are here today with Heather Filipowicz. I'm saying it right, Heather?
You are.
All right, we're here with Heather Filipowicz from Sassy Inspiration. She is my local Florida friend,
Yeah.
which I was very excited to make. Heather has a really cool journey, and so I wanted to talk to her a little bit about what she's achieved over the years and why she decided to kind of start all over again and follow her bliss, so to speak, and her life purpose. And if you want the full bio for Heather, you can see it below. It'll be in the comments, or excuse me, in the about section, but we'll definitely go over some of Heather's stuff as we go through here today. So Heather, say hi to everybody.
Hi, thanks for having me. I can speak a little bit to my story in my succinct little way. 2.5 years ago, almost 2 years ago, my husband and I moved from Buffalo, New York to Tampa, Florida, to the sunshine. And we had this amazing life. I was a nonprofit foundation executive director, focused on women's issues, women and girls, economic self-sufficiency. I had an amazing career in the nonprofit field for over a decade. My husband had an amazing job as well at one of the largest employers in Buffalo, and our entire family lived there. And we just knew in our heart that we weren't living our true, authentic dream, our life, our dream life. We always sort of fantasized about palm trees and hated winter and thought, oh, we'll just do it when we retire. And we had this sort of turning point, this epiphany, I guess you could say. My father has been battling a disease for many years, and it sort of opened our eyes to tomorrow is not promised. And we really decided to flip everything on its head, and we moved to Florida. I no longer work in the nonprofit sector. I actually now work freelance. I have my blog. I do blog and content writing for other entrepreneurs. I also do social media assisting for other entrepreneurs. I also do virtual assisting for other entrepreneurs, and I work alongside my husband. He has a side business as well. So we are among the palm trees. I work from home. I get to pick my son up every single day. I gave up a lot, but I gained even more. So I gained myself back. I don't wear suits anymore. I never like to wear suits. I wear my curly hair. I have pink in my hair. I'm living my true, authentic, real beauty life, I would say. So that is a little bit of my journey.
That's super cool. I know you talk a lot about your curly hair, or not a lot, but occasionally about your curly hair on your blog, because you've got a fair bit of pushback about having curly hair, haven't you?
I have over my career. It was a little interesting. I had one person once say to me that my curly hair was thought of as unprofessional. And so for a very long time, I would straighten my hair. It's just easier for me to wear it curly. And I loved my curls, but I was doing the blowouts all the time. And then as I really sort of started to peel back the layers as to what did I really want and who was I at my core, I'm like, well, damn it, I like my curly hair. So I have a very curly hair, don't care attitude. And girls and women who I know who have short hair, straight hair, they're always like, I would die for your curls. So I'm always like, well, I can do the best of both worlds. I can straighten it out if I want to. But yeah, a little pushback for the hair, which is ironic, actually.
Yeah, I find that particularly interesting because you were working in, I think, what we consider like a very female oriented field. So I think I'd like to just kind of hold with this point for a little bit, that it's not, we tend to think of appropriating women's bodies as something that happens, in football games or to sell shoes or cars or whatever. But it happens in what we consider the professional space just as much as it happens out in the marketing world, where like I don't think you'd ever see a man get told your curly hair is unprofessional.
Which is correct. I worked in the feminist female space for the majority of my career. two nonprofits that I worked with were focused on women's issues. And here's what my experience, I cannot speak for everyone, but I think that this happens, we see this a lot as women. The women that I worked with, some of them were my greatest mentors and gifts throughout my career. And some other women were the most horrifying, demeaning people that I worked with as well. Worse than any man. And as coming from a work environment once where I was sexually harassed by a male coworker, which is a horrific experience, I still can say that I'm a passionate feminist, and that to see how other women would treat me and or other women themselves is still it's very frustrating, I feel, for the female women's movement, and especially around embracing who we truly are, around our hair, around our body size, our shape, our passion, our careers. We have to do a better job of building each other up rather than tearing each other down, because it's hard enough. So that's one of the reasons why I focus all of my writing on women, because I want to be, just like you are, Raina, that one of those positive female voices that's helping other women rise up, because I sure as hell have had quite a few tear me down. So, yeah.
So can I ask you about that? When we think about, and I talk with my hands, you'd think I was Italian. So
Okay.
When you think about that experience that you had, and you're trying to be more self-aware in building Sassy and building the person that you are today, but we know we have this very built-in conditioning to look at another woman and can't believe she's wearing that, can't believe she's doing that, oh, she's a slut, oh, she's a this, oh, she's a, so how do you guard against that or train yourself to be supportive of other women? Do you have any like practical advice on how you've been able to do that for yourself, or maybe seeing women in your community?
Yeah, you know, the two things that I'm going through right now. One, I'm reading Brene Brown's Rising Strong, and I read this chapter when she talked about everybody is doing the best that they can, right? So that has stuck with me through this book, and now I'm sort of thinking about it every day. So when I get that thought of, that her kid, why is she letting her child act that way? And then I think that's, you know, my training in my head as women, and we are all judgy. Then I think we're all doing the best that we can with what we know. We're just trying each and every day. I really try and remind myself of that, even with myself, giving myself a break. Like, stop being so hard on yourself, Heather. Like, you're doing the best that you possibly can. And I'm also starting my yoga teacher training, and my practice with yoga has really taught me more about who I am and listening to my instinct and my core, and that gut feeling about life and about each other, that I try and bring that goodness up as much as I possibly can. So if I'm present with somebody, I'm present with somebody. If they're asking me advice, I'm going to be genuine and be as supportive and as kind as I possibly. We all just need more kindness and love in the world. We just need more of it. We're just so tough on each other. So I just try my best to remember that, to bring love and goodness even when you don't want to, and that everybody's trying the best that they possibly can. And that's right now how I'm focusing. So, but reading is so important for me to bring that perspective, and Brene is magical for me. So
she really is. That chapter really touched me a lot as well, particularly because I'm reading it, feeling what she's feeling. Like, there is no way that everybody is trying this hard, because they're so just like, there's no way that person is doing the best that they can, right? And her husband at the end of that chapter says something like, I'm not sure if I really believe this, but I don't want to be the type of person who does it.
Yes.
And that just lets, like, that's the moment, right? Where you just,
bring the good,
trying.
be the light, do what you can to just not be that person, right? So that's I think that is a daily, constant practice and reminder. And some days I'm great at it, and other days I fail miserably. But the awareness is half of the battle. That my job in the world and what I'm here to do is just to bring that little bit of light and goodness and try and be the person who believes that we're all trying the best that we can. And especially women. Especially women. We are so hard on ourselves and we're so hard on each other. So I just try my best to just move the needle a little bit each day, and with each interaction, with each Facebook post, with each blog post, like I just try. That's all I can do, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think, well, I listened to Elizabeth D'Alto talks about this a lot with her Untamed the Wild Soul Woman podcast, about how we have this like feminine surge, I think, going on in the world right now. And I will sometimes force back against that a little bit, because I think sometimes the spiritual feminine freaks me out a little bit, because I'm like, no, it's not all like la la la, and
right.
And women want to receive, and like we're powerful too, you know.
Yeah. But we are powerful, very.
Yeah, but I it's exciting to see, and I think we do need a little bit more of just maybe the word is mothering in the world in general. Just like when you can just look at anyone and see what's beautiful about them, and that's very much a mother feeling.
When we moved here to Florida, and I had all of these amazing female friends in Buffalo, I felt so lonely, and I could feel myself. I came to this community, and a lot of the women were already friends, and I was now working from home, so like I didn't have a title, and my title was always very important to me. I had no idea who I was. It was a very hard time, and I came to situations judging. Oh, judge this. She's just a stay-at-home mom, is what I used to think in my head. I'll totally admit it, when I was in my career, and I knew that I couldn't do it, but I don't know what I thought, right? And then I would meet another woman, and I'm like, oh, she's this. I would put a label on her immediately, and then it was a struggle connecting with other women, and it was me. I was coming to interactions with other women in this new place, this new scary place, putting labels on everybody, when in actuality, I didn't want anybody to put labels on me. So why couldn't I just show up as who I am? Funny, wild, sometimes talk too much, sometimes drink too much wine. Like, this is who I am. Talk with my hands, very passionate, and then let it unfold, and be there present with those women, and know that we're all just trying the best we can, and really get to know people. And everything shifted. My relationships, my friends, my circle, who came into my life, everything shifted. And that was really important for me to realize that as women, we should be able to feel safe enough to show up as our true selves, and to be seen and supported as that person. Even if we don't agree on things, at least I'm showing up in my most authentic way. And sometimes you get burned, and sometimes people don't like you, and not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay. And I'm not going to like everybody, but at least I'm showing up as who I am as a woman. And I think that's a really big piece of supporting one another, if we're going to be wild or tame, or a career-driven woman, or a stay-at-home mom, or a work-at-home mom, or I only wear yoga pants every day. Like, all of us we should just be supported in what we're doing at that time. We're doing the best we can with what we know, right? So.
That's awesome. And so you work with women a lot.
I do.
And have, I think, most of your career, which is kind of opposite with me. I actually worked with men primarily. I'm used to being the only woman in the boardroom, so to speak.
Well, that's like every boardroom, right? So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell me how, because I think that there's a lot of women that are new to this, especially in the, I know a lot of the women that I work with and talk to are used to being one of the only women around, and they may have female friends, but the idea of working with women is somewhat foreign to them, especially a lot of high-powered women, because unfortunately that's still the way a lot of our world works. So what tools do you think you've learned maybe differently or been able to bring to by having a career in the female sphere that's made it easier or harder for you when you made your transition to coaching women?
So that's a great question. I have this friend in Buffalo who she too also worked with the majority with men, and she would say to me, "I don't know how you do it. I would rather work with all men." And yes, I can see that piece of it. Sometimes it seems on the surface it's easier because women are so emotional and we cut each other down rather than build each other up. A couple of things that I did that, and now women email me and ask me, well, what do you think about this? What should I do? One is I always had a mentor, a woman who was in the role that I wanted to be in, regardless of where I worked. And I asked her questions, and I saw her for who she was and wanted to understand her struggles and what made her tick and what made her career successful or not. And I still do that to this day. Like I have a coach, I have a couple coaches women that are in a sphere that are where I want to be eventually. And I ask them questions, but I also support them in the best way that I can. So if they need an ear or they just need encouragement, everybody needs encouragement. Like that to me, as woman to woman, we have mentors, but just because they're our mentor, they're above us or they're doing something that we want to do, we can still be an encourager for them and we can still cheer them on. And that has been a really important part of my career and my evolution as a woman. I have always had strong females to look up to, but also to, give them a pat on the back. Everybody needs it.
Can we just, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can we just pause with that for just a second? Because I think that is so powerful what you just said, and I don't think we all always understand it. What you just said about how you can have a coach or a mentor who you look up to and you're obviously gaining a lot, but that's still a reciprocal back and forth relationship. Mm-hmm. And I think we put power in that relationship sometimes, and like, oh, I couldn't possibly give anything to them because they've got all their shit together, right? But
nobody does.
Right. That's such a powerful thing that you just said. That's amazing, Heather. I love that.
Well, I think that it's, I was always the one, I love handwritten notes. And so if I had somebody's address, I would write them notes. Now it's literally a little email or a Facebook comment, or it doesn't cost you anything to give that. And so that is, I think, half the battle of we just need to be helping each other out more. And it takes us 2 seconds and it doesn't cost a thing. And just because somebody on the surface looks like they've got it figured out. I mean, I have worked with millionaires, and they would confide in me about things that I was experiencing myself, that we all have the same truths deep down, regardless of what our bank account or our title is. And that I come to, everybody puts their pants on or their high heels or their pantyhose on the same way every day. And I come to that, and we just need more encouragement. And so that has really reshaped how I view that mentor coach mentee relationship. I think it's a two-way street. I really do. I always have.
That's awesome. I know since we got on the Brene Brown track, she talks about there's a balance, I think, of being like radically authentic and oversharing. And she talks about making sure that people deserve to hear your story or deserve the certain amount of openness. How do you, especially being a very public figure in the online space, how do you make that balance or choose what gets shared versus what doesn't with different types of people?
That's a great question. There's a lot of stories and truths I don't share because they're my truths that I'm not ready to share, or I don't think they need to be shared. The way I write and the way I try to connect, especially in the online world, is I share a story of my life, because I think we all connect to each other's stories. And then what is a lesson that I learned that could possibly be a gift to somebody else? But yet I never wanted, one, hurt anybody's feelings. Two, I try not to make people uncomfortable. I touch topics, like talking about my hair and sharing that story about my hair. That was a really big deal, because when it happened, I didn't tell anybody but my husband, because what if there was backlash? What if I got fired if I shared that story? What if people then thought of me as like this crazy whiner online who shares these, stories? That's not what I want for myself or for my family. So I always think about, is this going to hurt somebody? Which I really try. I don't share stories like that. I do share real, raw stories sometimes about myself, but that has been an evolution over time. I counted the other day, I had another blog before Sassy, and I still have the contents in the back end of my WordPress. And I have written over 175,000 words and 215 posts. And the girl who wrote post 1 is very different from the girl who wrote post 215. And that's important as a writer and as a woman, as we evolve and share our stories with each other, our truthiest truths, as Mom Mastery talks about. Sometimes I share them. I think sometimes they're a gift if you share them one-on-one. So a lot of my dear friends know more about me than I put online. And there's something about that respect and connection of one-on-one, that when we share our secrets, they're not really secrets. They're just our truths that someone else needs a little bit of as well. So it's a very interesting line. I read other women, other bloggers, and I'm like, I would never be able to write that. Oh my goodness. But yet, thank God she did. So I think there's layers of writing and bloggers and what they're comfortable with, and that I think everybody's message deserves to be heard and their stories matter. So that's how if I'm scared to press publish, those are the ones that women eat up the most. So the more scared I am, the more emails I get, the more views I get. And I don't really care about the views and things. I know there's one person that if they read a word that I wrote, a blog post I wrote, and it makes them just stop and pause, my job as a writer has been fulfilled. So to get somebody to hit reply or leave a comment that is my why. So as a writer, I know you know this. That's what we get behind the keyboard because we have a story to tell. And I know that there's another woman who needs to hear it, because there has been the stories that I've read that I've needed to hear, that has shifted the way I perceive my life and my work. So that's what I think about every time. I always take a deep breath. I say, let me do good. And I just write and get it out. But sometimes I like to, I could share a lot more, but I want to respect other people in my family. And I mean, there's some things going on in my life right now that I write for myself because I have to write to get it out, but they're not for the world to read. They're just for me. And Liz Gilbert talks about that too. Like sometimes we just need to write to get it out, but it's not for anybody else. They haven't earned that yet. So.
Oh yeah, I'm a big believer in a writing practice. I have kept a morning writing practice for 12 years, and it is the basis of everything. I think is just you just have to get it out. It's like healing.
After our lunch, I changed mine. You and I met for coffee, and I have a notebook in my purse. And I write in that, like you totally, I got my Scrivener. I'm like, she really inspired me to take it to a whole other level.
Don't you love Scrivener?
I'm figuring it out. It's a beast.
It is a beast, but it's awesome.
It is pretty awesome, but I'm like, wow, I'm overwhelmed. You're very systemic, like you and I. That's the one thing as a writer. I am more of an impulse writer. I will get up in the middle of something and write. Like the other night, I had to get something out before I couldn't fall asleep. Got up, came to my laptop, pounded out 800 words, went to bed. Like it was So that's interesting in terms of my evolution as a writer, that I'm getting to that point where it's a daily itch, but it's not a scheduled daily itch. So. Mhm.
That's awesome. That's I was just with my virtual assistant. We were just going over Strengths Finder to look at the 2 different strengths, and it reminded me that my #1 strength is activator. So the thing I'm the best at is getting people started. So if you ever need kickstarting, I mean, yeah.
I'm inspirational. Like, I see the big picture down the road, and I know exactly where I'm going. So yeah, we're if I need a kick as
so we're a good team then.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, okay, so I read your blogs, and guys, go to sassyinspiration.com. But I highly recommend, if there's like gold on Heather, or pink glitter, if we will, on Heather's blog, sign up for the email list, because that's my favorite. The Sunday night emails that you send out seem so personal. They seem like me and you sitting and having a conversation, much more so than 95% of the other emails that I get. How do you do that? How do you make that connection? Is it just something you feel like you need to put out there, or are you taking the temperature of what you feel like the community needs? How do you figure out how to put out something that feels that?
That's a great question. It's a blend of both. So I, as always, have my style is sharing something that's going on in my life or that has happened. But I can also tell from a Facebook posts, or what I'm seeing in my personal Facebook land, or what I'm having conversations with my friends, that those I can sort of tell how I want to talk about that. Those emails to me are, I just want people to have a little bit of a fleck of love and goodness and a little bit of inspiration in their email box. So if I was getting my emails, which I do, and I read them when they come in my email box, what would I want to read? What makes me open an email? And so I know there's a science about it. I've taken the courses about to do this and that, and I keep mine simple. It's like an email to a friend, because I do view every single woman who has entrusted me to come into their email inbox and to take the time to read my words is a friend to me. That is a gift that I'm so honored to have. And so when I sit down and I write those, I think, what do I want to share today? And a lot of it's gut. Like, I get this whoosh of inspiration, and out the words come. And sometimes I'll say, well, I had this post this week, and I really want to make sure that they read it, because it was a really good one that I felt that is a really good story that will resonate. And I'm a little bit more honest in my emails. There's a little bit more of me in my emails than that goes out in the world of social media and in my blog posts, for sure. I'm a little bit more raw and honest in those emails. And a lot of people open them. So I know that the fact that people are taking the time to read an email that I sent to them, that's a gift. And so I want to come to each Sunday, my Sassy Sundays, with that intent of, if I can just be a little bit of goodness in your inbox, then I've done my job. So
that's super cool. I want to shift you just a little bit here, because I know we've had some conversations about this in the past. We're about to go into the holiday season. I have a new book coming out about how to not be a crazy person in the holiday season, called Savor the Holidays, based on 3 years of working on really trying to help women relax during this time of year and enjoy it. What are you doing leading into the holiday season to make sure that you're safeguarding all of this progress that you've made all year long, and, you know, keeping with your spiritual practices, or taking care of yourself, or guarding your family against too much excess going into this time of year?
we're actually, my husband and I are super Christmas fans, giant. We love Christmas. This year is very different. So when we moved down to Florida, we haven't had anybody come here for Christmas or the holidays. So it really has shifted. It's been a little hard for me, because there's no houses to rush off to. It's so simplistic. So it's actually a really beautiful thing. And I was talking with family member in Buffalo, and she's feeling that we got to go here and you got to go here, and I got to make the casserole for this house, and then I got to get the kids showered and do the whole thing, and it's too much. She's like, it's too much. And so that I sort of gave myself permission. It was forced permission when we moved, that it's not that way. And we do things to savor. We are a big Disney family. And so our gift as parents to our son is we go to Disney for the weekend, and that is his gift. We prefer to do gifts as experience. The experience is the gift, not a gift under the tree. So we've simplified that a big amount. There are traditions that my mother taught me in terms of cookies and baking, and I those are important to me, and I don't bake as much as my mother used to. She would do like 7 different kinds over the month span, and God love her. She taught me how to bake, but I don't do it as much. But it is a tradition that I think is extremely important. And even now my son loves the kitchen, so we make the cookies together. That's important to me. But the simplistic tree is lit and Christmas music is on and watching Christmas movies and the savoring of a different creamer in my coffee that tastes like Christmas in my Christmas mug. Those are the important things to me. We're not very big on 100 different parties. We don't rush around to parties. We say no before more than we say yes. That has been a big evolution for our family. So we do a very large amount of no thank yous. And that's just our truth. So we don't like to empty our tanks. We like to keep them full, and it takes a lot of self-care. And sometimes we're better at it than not. But this time of year, we do have a tendency to savor more, and we're sort of the opposite, I think, of a lot of people. So.
Absolutely, that's really neat. You said something about giving gifts as experiences rather than packages underneath the tree. And I know from your social media and from conversations that we've had that that's kind of your philosophy on gift giving. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you came to that?
Yeah. So Santa Claus brings some toys for Logan, but Logan's birthday as well. We don't do birthday parties. We do experiences as well. And so right now he's obsessed with Disney. It is his passion, and we want to foster that and feed that. And he wants to learn about the parks and the intricacies of these things. And so we want his eyes to be open to the world. And so we also go away for his birthday weekend as well. He does not get any physical gifts from us for his birthday either. He gets an experience. And we talk about why we do that. And we expose him to people who travel the world and that are entrepreneurs and live life in a different way. And that's important for us as well, for him. And so we want him to remember, and he does remember the experiences. We talk about the toys that he doesn't play with, and we point them out and say, now you got all of those toys, and he plays with the things that he's passionate about. And so he gets it. He really does get it. I think that, and when we talk about giving gifts, what is the why behind the gift? And it's so easy to get worked into that. Well, I don't do the Black Friday thing. I don't do any of that. I do a lot of shopping online and with small vendors and small entrepreneurs, because now I know what that feels like to be one. And so we talk about the why with Logan in terms of why we buy certain gifts. I have my best friend and sister. We do books for each other's kids. Like we just try our best to come about it in a different way. So
that's really neat. I last year, I think it was, or maybe the year. Ooh.
Bless you. Bless you.
Excuse me. Sorry. Last year or the year before, when they started opening all the stores on Thanksgiving, I made a public vow on my blog that I was not going to shop anywhere that opened on Thanksgiving, which puts out Target, which is my favorite store, and required some real thought around gift giving. So I love that you say, you are consciously doing stuff online and using small vendors and talking to your son about that, because it's so difficult sometimes to have those conversations with kids because they see what everybody else has.
Mhm.
Also, more and more and more, I think that these small makers are just such a huge part of the female economy.
Yes.
Women run these lifestyle businesses that are so much more conscious than
Mhm.
big brands, you know?
Like last year for neighbor gifts, one of my dear friends and coaches had started up her nut butter line, and I bought a whole bunch of nut butters, and that's what I gave to everybody. And then it made sure that it was they got her card, and I still buy stuff at Target. I don't go out on Thanksgiving night. I think that that's wrong, but I really do believe that if you can make some different choices around where you purchase things, now that female entrepreneurs are, it's a truth that the more I'm in this world of being an entrepreneur and running my own business, I believe that it is one of the backbones as to how women can truly live a life on their own terms and with true authenticity. And to put your head down at night and know that you've done something good in the world. So if I can buy 1 or 2 Christmas presents from female business owners that I know their story and the impact that my little purchase makes, then all the better, all the better. Conscious gift giving. Danielle Laporte had it, she has it running right now, and I buy stuff from her. Like, if I believe in your mission, I'll figure out a way to buy your products and give them as gifts, even if it's to myself. So
that's such a powerful thought. I very much believe that one of the most important ways that we vote is not at a ballot box. It's where we spend our dollars. So I love that idea of, like, if you believe in someone's mission, the best way to support them is to buy something from them.
And especially in the startup years. I mean, the first 5 years of any business is so much work. So if I shift 1 or 2 gifts away from Target and help out other women in their business, well, then I can just spread a little good. So.
Can I ask you an unrelated question? And you can feel free to say this is one you don't want to talk about. But we talk a lot about body image at Be It Real Beauty. It's what our whole program is centered around. And I know you've had the experience of, we talked about your curly hair, but you've also had the experience of losing some weight, getting into yoga, doing some different, can you talk a little bit about how you've shifted your image of who you are physically as well as mentally as you've gone into your own space and maybe more of a healthy place since you moved to Florida?
I will tell you that my view of my body is the biggest battle that I have probably encountered my entire life. And so I've never been a small, quote unquote, small sized woman. I've always been a curvier girl.
Me too.
Always. But I was actually working with one of my coaches, and we were talking about my view of my body. And it's becoming healthier, but it's nowhere near healthy. And I can remember being, my first diet was in 4th grade, and my son is in 3rd grade. And the thought of that now as a grown woman is horrifying to me. But yet that is how I started my evolution. And I can see in what I've written, those Facebook things I have struggled with autoimmune diseases. I have struggled with my weight. I have struggled with how I view my body. What do I say about myself in my mind? My entire life. It is like a hell in a prison that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, but I think most women have it. And so yoga has helped me, as I don't have to run a marathon because it's not what I like to do, but I can do a mean down dog, and I don't have to do a handstand to be a yogi, but I can feel comfortable going into a down dog and not have to worry about what somebody on the mat behind me thinks of my butt. Like, that is a big thing for me. I have reached that point where my mat is my mat. I don't even look around the room. I don't even know. I'm there for me. And a lot of women can't even do that. But I do wake up every day and shift my shirt and get frustrated that something doesn't fit the way it used to. And I'm up 10 pounds versus what I was 2 months ago. And oh, look at that. I'm the same as many other women. And it has been an evolution that I am getting better at, but it's nowhere near a battle that I've conquered. It's really hard for me. And being a curvy woman, I said to another friend of mine she's curvy as well. I said, would you be content if this was the weight you were for the rest of your life? Would you be content if this is what you looked like? And I actually, at this point in my life, yeah. And health is part of it, you know, I don't really want to have to worry about that all the time. So I'm working that's something I work on a daily basis. So.
That's really cool, and I appreciate your honesty around that, because it's. I think that a lot of women will look at people doing the work that we're both doing and think, oh well, you know, they think that's where the judgment comes in, right? They've got it all together, or I couldn't be that because I still feel crappy about things, and even the things that we're the best at are still a process every day.
Every day. And I know women who I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's stunning. Her thighs don't touch. She has perfect blonde hair. You know, she's absolutely gorgeous. And the truthy truths come out and she's worried about, did she eat too many carbs that day? And I'm like, oh, we're all living with it. It doesn't matter what we look like on the outside. We're all living with it in some way, shape, or form. Not all women. A lot of women have conquered what this feels like. And I haven't. This is definitely a work in progress for me, but I'm better than I used to be. And I think that coming as who I am, I will tell you, I am never going to be a size 2, and I don't want to be a size 2. That's just for me. That's how I want to live my life, and what I want to feel like in my own body. But that could be for somebody else, and that's for her, and I want to support her in that quest. I'm just glad that, you know, for years, I didn't want to go into a gym because I was so self-conscious. And if I look at pictures of that girl now, she's about the same size as me. You know, me back then is the same as I am now. It's this game. And so I come to it different than I used to, but I have not conquered it by any means.
I tell people sometimes, and I have a couple videos about it, that I was 120 pounds at 21, 22 with long blonde hair and big boobs, and like I could, you know, and I still thought I was fat. Yeah. I look back at pictures now and I'm like, what was wrong with me?
Right.
So
I'm that same girl, and now that to me is insightful. So if I thought that girl was fat, like, who cares? So that is sort of. I posted the other day on the Sassy Facebook page. There was on the Today Show. I don't remember her name. She came out with a new book, and it was owning the word fat. And a statistic came up on the screen, and it was like 95% of women have been on a diet or are on a diet because they have been upset, 18 and older, with what their body looked like. And my son was watching, and he turned to me and he said, "Are you on a diet right now?" And I cannot remember a time when I was not thinking about being on a diet, weighing you name it, I've done it. Counted the points, weighed the thing, not eat the carbs, done it all. And then it made me stop in my tracks. And he's a male that they have the same sort of issues that we do. And I thought, oh man, this battle. And it stopped me, right? And I said, well, we're all beautiful. And he started to say, well, people go on a diet too. And he started to say, look better. But he stopped himself. So I knew that how I've been approaching it at home, and my husband as well. We don't use the word diet. We don't talk about people are fat. We don't talk about skin color, everybody is who they are, and we're all individuals, and that's what we try really hard to teach. You know, school changes that. He's exposed to things at school, and I hear kids talk about, oh, he's fat or you're fat, and we work really hard to squash that, but that's the world we live in. And what example am I setting as a mother in terms of loving and being comfortable with my body? So if my tummy is sticking out and he puts his head on it and it feels uncomfortable to me that it's a little squishier than it was last month, to not move myself for him to feel that, like I have to own where I'm at. And that's something I work really hard as a mom, and for myself. So.
Yeah, that is such an important point, because we have to raise, especially I think we talk a lot about raising our daughters to feel good about themselves, and that's a whole different type of hurdle. But it's also, we have to raise boys to see women in the right way, because it's really easy if they're not, they have to be specifically told, because every message that they're going to receive in the world is like, this is the type of body that is beautiful, and you can objectify it, and that's okay. And that's, you know, we actually have to have these conversations and give them a model, because they will not encounter it by accident.
No, we actually, he hugged one of his friends at school, right? He's a loving, kind, beautiful soul, and we're huggers. And she was a little uncomfortable about that, and her mom told me about it. And it was one of those, you have to have the conversation, that you have to make sure everybody's comfortable with that sort of interaction, and you have to ask permission. And, you know, can I hug you is something that you have to say sometimes. And we don't say it at home because we're here at home, but it's something you have to ask. And that, to me, is, we have to have those conversations really early on in life as a parent, because I want to raise a feminist boy. You know, we were watching TV the other day, and he said, do you want Hillary Clinton to be president of the United States? And I said, I think the best candidate should be president of the United States, but I would like to see a woman. I just think it's unfair, Mom, that a woman has never been president. So for him to be able to be thinking like that, that's good. You know, it's not about politics. I want him to see everybody as equal. And I you know, he's heard me talk about women are 50% of the population, and anybody can be what they put their heart to. And so, yeah, that's all part of the conversation here.
Yeah, that's, I have one son the same age as yours, and one that's a little bit older, and we've been grappling a lot with the, not just like respecting women, but making with being feminine not wrong. So this idea of, like, dresses and heels are not weak. You know, no, saying you throw like a girl is not okay. And so, because I think when we look at women and men being equal, a big piece of it is making being female not wrong, because making women men doesn't work either.
No. Yeah, it's a good point.
So it's, yeah, for us feminist moms, it's a complicated thing trying to raise a boy, particularly a Caucasian boy, to have that kind of empathy when they are born with a lot of advantages. That, yeah, you know, it takes work, because they won't get it by accident.
No, it's definitely it's an ongoing conversation. And in roles as well, what does he witness in terms of roles in our home? You know, I do many of the traditional things that a mom does, but my husband does too. You know, I may do a lot of the cooking, but Logan also helps me cook, but Joe does the laundry. So it's sort of, it's more of a family unit rather than, oh, that's a mom thing and a dad thing. You know, we work really hard at, my husband is an amazing partner for me and an amazing father. So that for him to see, that's very blurry. The lines of whose role is what. is really important. And he has seen also me be, he doesn't remember it as much, but he does still remember daycare. And daycare was a huge part of our family. I thought it was an amazing experience for him. It was a necessary at that point in our family life when I was working full-time outside the home. And I traveled a lot and I missed a lot of stuff. And that was what was right for us at that time. But I can also see him when we moved and we changed our life, and I'm more present, and I pick him up and drop him off every day. I have seen a change in him. And so that's important to me as a mom, for my family and for my choice, but to be open to seeing our children as there's little sponges, and doing what's best for them in the way that it can fit within our family. And what does that role look like? So we talk about building businesses. We talk about being entrepreneurs. We talk about, moms can build businesses and be career full-time women outside the home, and moms can stay at home, and mom and dads can be whatever they want to be. Dads can stay home. Like, we talk about that stuff. So I think that's important for kids to see. So.
Absolutely. I know we've kind of ran the whole gamut on the conversation here, but as we're wrapping things up, there was one question I really wanted to ask you, because one of the things I really admire about you, and you see it all over your social media, you see it when we read, we've talked about it, is that you seem to have this really dynamic relationship with your partner, with your husband, where you guys both have fledgling businesses, right? You're both professionals with these amazing careers behind you, as well as ahead of you. But you do a really good job, at least as an outsider looking in, of supporting each other in a way that I don't see all the time. How do you feel like you're able, or could you give people some insight into maybe how you've been able to make that work for you? Has it always been this way, or did you guys go through a conscious process?
Oh, great question. What you see in social media is very much what my life is. My husband is, quite frankly, probably one of the most amazing people I've ever met. So when we met, we were older. So we were both we both had careers. We both were very well established. We were starting out, but he had his own home. We had our own thing. And as we moved in together and as we got married, we sort of started to become better versions of ourselves, is the only way I could explain it. He has always cheered me on, and I have always cheered him on. And there are a lot of people that have left our life because we rose up and changed, and people exit. And that has been very hard as a couple, because we've lost some very good friends over time. We've lost family members over time that maybe don't agree with how we live our life or what we're doing, or they don't like us. I don't know. That has been hard. But at the end of the day, the three of us are the priority in our home. Joe has a full-time job as a corporate controller outside the house, and he's building his own entrepreneurial business. And we are always cheering each other on. And when I have a down day where I believe all of it's crap and I stink and I should quit and I'm going to go back and do what I used to do, he'd say, "Why do you want to do that?" And then there's days where he's like, "How? I just don't know," which are very rare, quite frankly. I doubt more than he doubts. We're always there for each other. And there's never criticism, I will say. I've never once been put down by him, been criticized by him. If I was 50 pounds heavier or 50 pounds lighter, he has never said a word and has loved me even more because he knew I needed it. That to me is, he marched on Washington with me for a feminist march and held my hand. He's just this quiet force of support and love. And yes, there are quirks. And yes, we don't really fight, but we have discussions. We're not perfect. Nobody is. But it's showing up for each other in the best possible way. So if I'm struggling, and there are times when I really do struggle, I am very honest with him. Sometimes I send it in an email. Maybe it's easier to read it in an email because I'm a writer, but he knows, and I know him too. He's amazing, but with the never putting down or criticizing is so important for a relationship. That there may be something that I don't agree with that he's doing, or that he doesn't agree with what I'm doing, but we never cut each other down. We never use negative words towards each other, because we both know that this is the worst game in town, is what's going on in our own heads. And I love him enough for the whole world. Like, that's my love for him is that big. And it's the same with Logan. Like, we're a strong unit of 3, and we have so many dreams that we're chasing together that it excites me to wake up every day and see what will come our way. So when we looked at each other and said, I really don't want to wait for retirement. What do you want to do about that? It was just sort of like one put up a map of the state of Florida and the other one did their resume. And it was sort of like this evolution of, well, what do you think? I don't know. What do you think? And we just trust that it'll all work out the way it's supposed to work out. But he's the quieter version of the two of us. He's the introvert accountant, and I am the ENFJ of the relationship. And that works for us. It works for us. And he's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. So, and this road has not been easy. We've had sick parents, and we've had, money stuff like every couple has, and we've had friends leave and hurt us and stab us in the back. We've been through it all, like I think almost every couple has. But at the end of the day, we come home to each other, and we're extremely proud of the unit that we've built together. And we remember that it's us 3. So that's a great question. I appreciate you asking it, because he's sort of like the unsung hero oftentimes, because I've always been the more in front person, and he's growing and becoming more in front himself in his own way. And it's really cool to watch and be a part of. So I don't know how people who don't have a supportive, even if their spouse or their significant other or girlfriend or boyfriend, if they don't understand it, what they're trying to accomplish or what dream they want to chase. I get those emails a lot. My husband thinks that I'm crazy for wanting to do X, Y, or Z, or I can't tell anybody this because they're not going to support me. I feel really bad, because it's bad enough the battle that you have in your head around wanting to go after something, but to not have a supportive network around you makes all the difference in the world. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's amazing, that idea that in your relationship, you're 2 people growing together, but parallel of each other. And I just think it's amazing seeing the way that you guys really do prioritize your family connection over everything else.
Yeah, we could very much exist without each other, which is important to me as a feminist. And when we moved here and I left my job, that was a really big thing for me, because I no longer had a title, and for a while I didn't bring in any income. So I was relying on a man completely, and holy cow, that was a tough one for me. Oof, really tough. So then that shifted what is my value in terms of as the family, what do I do to bring value to our family? So that was really important for me to shift the thinking of myself as a feminist and a breadwinner, and he helped me with that too. So it's not easy without somebody cheering you on, and even if it's a friend, at least if you have somebody. And so I try to be that cheerleader for others who may not have it, and be supportive and cheer someone on to go after their dreams, because if they don't have somebody like my Joe, oof, it makes it twice as hard. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up here, can you tell me, because I'm like, there's so many things that I could ask you, but Where can people, if they want to learn more about you or get more information from you, they can get your amazing emails on your blog, but
Yeah.
Where do you prefer them to reach out to you or find you on the web?
Sure. So my website is sassyinspiration.com, SASSY, inspiration.com. Facebook, Sassy Inspiration, there's a page, and you can follow me at, I think it's H.A. Filipowicz on Twitter, HAFILIPOWICZ on Twitter, and Instagram. Instagram and Facebook are my two favorites. Twitter's Twitter, but I'm over there too. Those are the best ways to find me. So.
Awesome. So guys, you can find those links if you're watching the video on YouTube, you can find them below the video on YouTube, or we'll have complete show notes on the blog with links to Heather's information, and you can also get the transcription. I can't even talk now. You can also get the transcription there. So Heather, thank you very much for taking the time with us today.
This was fun. I appreciate it always. Thank you.
Super exciting. All right, everybody, we will see you next time. Have a great day. Let me see if I can figure out how to stop it.